up today, President Park Geun-hye will hold talks with the bigwigs in Korean media this week to better gauge public opinion following the general election. US President Barack Obama rejects North Korea's offer to stop nuclear tests if Washington suspends its military exercises with South Korea. Plus, Ecuador declares 8 days of national mourning as the earthquake death toll rises to 646. More than 100 remain missing. Stay tuned for these stories and more. Hello to our viewers around the world. It's 6 a.m. on Monday, April 25th, here in Seoul. Thank you for joining us. I'm Mark Broom. Our top story this morning, President Park Geun-hye will meet with Korea's leading news outlets for the first time in 3 years this week in an effort to gauge public opinion after the ruling SAENURI party's disastrous showing in this month's general election. Our KWON Jang-ho starts us off.
A rare meeting between the president and the chief editors of Korea's news and media outlets is scheduled for Tuesday. It will be only the second one between the president and the media since she took office, the first coming in July 2013, 5 months after her term started. President Park Geun-hye was said to have called for the meeting to gain a better understanding of the public sentiment in the wake of the general election earlier this month. Representatives from 46 media companies will be in attendance. They will listen to a speech by the president, followed by a Q&A session, which is also a rarity for a presidential press event.
국민의 민의를 겸허히 받들어서 국정의 최우선 순위를 민생에 두고 사명감으로 대한민국의 경제 발전과 경제혁신 3개년 계획을 마무리하도록 하는데 혼신의 노력을 다하고자 합니다.
The recent parliamentary election was a chastening experience for the president's ruling SAENURI party, which lost its parliamentary majority and won just 122 seats in the 300-seat National Assembly. That's just 1 seat less than the main opposition Minju Party of Korea, which took 123 seats. The minor opposition People's Party won 38 seats. Without a majority in the Assembly, it's expected to be difficult for the SAENURI party to pass several bills it regards as key, including a labor reform package.
20대 국회가 민생과 경제에 매진하는 일하는 국회가 되기를 기대하면서 정부도 새롭게 출범하는 국회와 긴밀하게 협력해 나갈 것입니다.
There are also plans for the editors to meet with the representatives from the main political parties, where they are expected to discuss the current state of affairs. KWON Jang-ho, Arirang News.
Now, the floor leaders of Korea's 3 main political parties have agreed to focus their attention on a series of bills related to welfare and youth employment within the current parliamentary session. The ruling SAENURI party's Won Yu-chol, the main opposition Minju Party of Korea's Lee Jong-gul, and the minor opposition People's Party Ju Sung-yong met at the National Assembly on Sunday. The trio also reached a tentative agreement on a bill that would lift regulations on certain industries to boost employment. They also vowed to pass bills sitting in the Legislation and Judiciary Committee before the current parliamentary session ends on May 20th. The government has promised to protect jobs and support workers who could be laid off as part of its corporate restructuring drive set for this year. A finance ministry official says that although there are no plans for a budget supplement if layoffs do occur, they would have no choice but to consider one if that started to happen. He was speaking after a meeting with Finance Minister Yoo-ho and other ministry officials on ways to restructure troubled industries. Of particular concern has been the country's flagging shipping industry, with companies such as Hyundai Merchant Marine and Hyun-bin Shipping facing liquidity shortages. US President Barack Obama has dismissed North Korea's nuclear test proposal, saying that Washington cannot take the regime's offer seriously. His remarks come a day after North Korea's foreign minister told the Associated Press that his country is ready to halt its nuclear tests if the United States suspends its annual military exercises with South Korea. Speaking in Germany, Obama said Pyongyang's proposal, which comes in the wake of a series of provocations, is just not reliable and shows the regime is not serious about abandoning its nuclear weapons program. Obama added that Washington will continue to work closely with Seoul and Tokyo to protect its citizens and its allies. The North Korean minister, who was in the US for the signing of a UN climate deal, left New York on Sunday local time. Now, North Korea says its recent test of a submarine-launched ballistic missile was a success, but South Korea begs to differ. According to South Korea's military, it will be quite some time before North Korea is ready to deploy such a missile. Our Defense Ministry correspondent Kim Hyun-bin with the details.
New analysis of North Korea's submarine-launched ballistic missile test on Saturday has cast doubt on Pyongyang's claim of success. South Korea's defense ministry said on Sunday that after analyzing images of the launch, it will likely be a while before the missile is fully operational.
North Korea has made some improvements in developing its submarine-launched ballistic missile, but it'll take quite some time before it can be deployed.
The South Korean Defense Ministry also condemned the launch, which the North state-run Korean Central News Agency said gives the North the ability to strike South Korea and the United States at any time. South Korean media had reported the projectile flew around 30 kilometers, well short of the 300 kilometers minimum that military experts in the South say will be required for a successful launch. Meanwhile, North Korea has deployed 300 new multiple launch rocket systems along its border with South Korea. Seoul-based Yonhap News reported Sunday, citing military sources, that Pyongyang has dispatched the 122mm multiple rocket launchers on the demilitarized zone, separating the two Koreas. These weapon systems have an estimated range of some 40 kilometers, putting parts of Seoul and the surrounding area within striking distance. The launchers have up to 40 barrels per unit, and when fired at once, it could send roughly 9,000 rockets southward. Kim Hyun-bin, Arirang News.
The UN Security Council has condemned North Korea's submarine-launched ballistic missile test and expressed serious concern as it accepted a press statement signed by 15 member countries. The statement says North Korea's missile test on Saturday was a clear violation of Security Council resolutions that ban Pyongyang from any type of ballistic missile tests. The Council said that it will continue to closely monitor the situation and take further significant measures in line with its previously expressed determination. According to Seoul-based Yonhap News Agency, this marks the 5th time the UN Security Council has accepted statements on North Korea this year. South Korea's Unification Minister says it's not the time for dialogue with North Korea, but a time for sanctions and keeping the pressure on Pyongyang. Hong Yong-pyo says Seoul's aim is the peaceful reunification of the two Koreas, and the South must work toward that goal by pressuring the regime to give up its nuclear weapons program. The minister also said Seoul needs a different North Korea policy, as it is no longer the same regime from the past. In its latest provocation, as we've been hearing, North Korea test-fired a submarine-launched ballistic missile on Saturday. After a nuclear test and missile launches earlier this year, it is also currently threatening to conduct a 5th nuclear test. Ecuador has declared 8 days of national mourning as the death toll from the massive earthquake there has risen to 646. Ecuador's President Rafael Correa says that 130 people are still missing. During his weekly TV broadcast to the nation, Correa praised the 27 countries that sent rescue teams to Ecuador and said that 113 people have been pulled alive from the rubble. The 7.8 magnitude earthquake struck off the Ecuadorian coast on April 16th, injuring thousands and leveling, as you can see, many towns. The cost of rebuilding could be up to $3 billion and take years. Now, for the second year running, Samsung Electronics has topped the list for the number of patents related to LTE communications technology. A report compiled by Taiwan's Intellectual Property Office reveals that Samsung holds over 950 LTE and LTE-A patents out of more than 7,500 LTE patents overall. That amounts to about 13% of the total. A Samsung representative said the company's LTE patent portfolio and technologies will help it secure an early lead in the development of 5G technology. Qualcomm came in second with almost 12% of the market. Korea's LG was tied for that spot last year but dropped to fifth this year with just 8.3% of the total. Samsung's big rival Apple has just 1.8% of the share this year. Now, 3 or 4 lucky local retailers will be smiling from ear to ear before the week is up. That's because the Korea Customs Service is slated to announce which companies will be allowed to open new duty-free shops in Seoul. Now, these extra stores are seen as a necessity to meet growing demand from Chinese tourists. Duty-free stores posted a combined $8 billion in sales last year, with a growth of about 15% over the past decade or so. Now, this really is a golden era for duty-free shops, as operation licenses have been extended from 5 years to 10, and new licenses will be renewed automatically. There are some concerns, however, that there may be too many duty-free shops in Seoul for them to all turn a profit. Now, Korean farmers are naturally eager to export their goods, but they still face a number of obstacles. But the government says it is working to fix their problems. Kim Myo-kyun explains.
Korean farmers have struggled to export their products because they don't have an exclusive outlet they can turn to for assistance.
The biggest problem we're experiencing is that we don't have anywhere to ask for help when pests occur.
Now, Korea's Rural Development Administration has launched a special agency to mentor farmers. It will inform farmers on a range of issues, from growing environmentally friendly crops, shipping products by air and sea, and exporting overseas.
We plan to offer active solutions step by step, beginning with problems they are experiencing in the field.
The agency will be divided into 6 sectors, such as gardening and stock breeding, to provide customized assistance. The latest efforts are expected to increase exports in the agricultural industry and raise global competitiveness. Kim Mo-kyun, Arirang News.
Now, Korean cuisine, or hanshik, is generating some real buzz in the global culinary world these days. In the latest indication of this, hanshik will become the first foreign cuisine to be added to the curriculum of the prestigious French culinary institution École Ferrandi in Paris. The school will also open a branch in Korea in the coming months to be co-managed by École Ferrandi and Korea's Mirror Foundation. The foundation was established in October of last year with donations from 16 local companies to help promote the Korean wave around the world. Foundation director Kim Hyung-soo said the goal is to train global chefs who have hanshik in their DNA. The school will accept its first 100 students next March. Now, we've seen a variety of solid objects created with the use of 3D printing technology, but now researchers in the US have found a way to print both solid and liquid materials simultaneously. Park Se-young has the details.
This robotic dog is electrically powered and hydraulically actuated. Once hooked up to a battery source, the motor pressurizes the oil inside the robot and creates movement.
Actuators using oil pressure do the best job simulating human muscles, which are fast and strong.
Robots like this are difficult to make, but researchers at MIT have developed a breakthrough technique enabling the printing of a working robot on one 3D printer from a single print. This 6-legged robot, powered by hydraulic pumps, was printed in 22 hours. The different heads enable printing of 8 materials at once, including liquid-filled tubes used to actuate robot joints. According to the researchers, all you have to do is stick in a battery and motor, and the robot can practically walk right out of the printer. Printable hydraulics is considered the next step towards rapid fabrication of functional machines, and it could have major implications on how people design and produce robots in the future. Park Se-young, Arirang News.
Well, that's all we have for you for now on this Monday morning here in Seoul, South Korea. I'm Mark Broom. Thank you as always for watching. We do hope your week is off to a great start, and we'll be back throughout the day with more newscasts. Our next one coming up at 10 a.m. Korea time. So until then, goodbye.